Hey there, this is Deepa, the Sleep Whisperer, and you're listening to another episode of the Sleep Whisperer podcast. If you have a soul connection with the Divine Mother, the sacred feminine, you must take a listen to this episode. LeeAnn Dzelzkalns. LeeAnn, I hope I pronounced your very complicated name correctly, is the founder of LA Consulting Incorporated and the Syinthesis Sound Healing Center, where she offers sound soul journeys, workshops, treasure mapping, nature walks, guided meditations, and experiential exercises to elicit healing, diffuse stressors, dissolve emotional attachments, invite deepening insights, and encourage self-transformation. The loss of someone very dear to you is pivotal. If you have experienced loss, then my heart goes out to you. And you know that it can lead to trauma or it can provide some direction on your journey forward. How was it for LeeAnn? Sound is a deep tool to use in the context of healing trauma as well as supporting sleep. How might someone use sound to guide themselves back to silence? How can you include and listen to specific tones? And what would a session using sound healing look like for someone who's struggling with sleep challenges? This is such a great episode, and it went on for so long that I had to cut it into two separate episodes. So episode number 45 is my conversation with LeeAnn, and I found that I have a soul connection to LeeAnn. So take a listen to our amazing conversation about the sacred feminine, sound healing, and sleep. And you can also use episode number 46 as a daily guided sound healing meditation. So just play it yourself each night and allow it to take you into a magical world that helps you move past any kind of trauma. And if you want to reach me, reach out to Deepa at 5tothrive.com. Now take a listen to episode number 45. Welcome to the Sleep Whisperer podcast. I'm your host, Deepa. Join me and my many expert guests and medical professionals from the cutting-edge science of functional medicine of the West and ancient wisdom of the East. Learn all about how to discover your root causes of poor sleep and understand the proper tools and techniques to end your confusion and begin getting a good night's sleep. It's time to regain hope and begin your sleep journey with the Sleep Whisperer podcast. LeeAnn, welcome to the Sleep Whisperer podcast. We've been having this conversation for so long and I can't wait to actually get into the episode with you. And we're talking about sound healing and sleep. And I must share, although I can't tell you a whole lot more at this point, and I'll also leave our listeners with a little bit of curiosity, is that I personally have something connecting sound and sleep, which I haven't introduced as yet. But so this is a great episode, and I know that we're releasing this as a double episode. So we will get into what is sound healing. We'll have the conversation with you, and then you're also going to take us through an actual experience so that people can use that. But coming back to how did you come to this space of sound healing? Because I know that you've had loss in your life, and losing someone you love and care deeply about is so pivotal, because someone can go down the road of feeling dejection, depression. Sometimes it can take them to a space of transformation. And I know probably you've been through all those areas to get where you are. So just tell me a little bit about that whole journey of LeeAnn.
Yeah, the journey itself. Well, you're absolutely right. As life unfolds, we don't know what is going to present. And when I lost my mom to sudden death, it was like, well, shock, because it was sudden death. And so when we go into shock, we lose our ground, right? We
Right.
go into this incredible grief and sorrow because now we don't really know anything. It leaves us at a complete loss, and especially when we have such a connection, to the mother. And I was 23 years old, so oh yeah, those are important years, right? And what's fascinating to me is, we go into survival mode, but there's, the soul, our higher aspect of self, has a way of guiding us, even in our darkest, of time. And I had so many divine direct experiences just around the loss of my mother, what I mean by that is they're like numinous experiences where you're going to be okay, and you trust in the higher order of things. And it's almost as if Source, God, the universe, my soul was speaking to me silently. I heard, it was the day of the memorial, that I would come to find the gift in this someday. And I'm sort of having a conversation with God, like, right, sure. How do you find a gift in something traumatic and devastating? But I tuck that away, and it has brought me to where I am today. Truly, the unfoldment of life's lessons, when we stand present and we recognize the synchronicity of what I will call spiritual unfoldment, is that I had all these really lessons to learn about believing in myself and accepting the loss. And sound healing came into my life through this synchronicity of spiritual unfoldment. I don't know how any other way to say it, but I had quite a bit of life between 23 years old and about 35, 36, where music has always been a very important part of my life. And I just have this natural ability to move and dance and feel the rhythms and studying Pythagoras just randomly, and having books fall off the shelf that were gently guiding me to where I am today. And sound healing, I really didn't think I would be introducing sound into my work, because this was back in 2000, because when I was in graduate school for exercise physiology, I was also studying relaxation therapy and stress management. And because I was doing that, I had created an exercise business back in the 80s. I'm really dating myself, but yes, in the 80s. And I was just very natural at guiding people in relaxation. But you know what? It's like the universe, spirit source, wanted me to expand that and incorporate sound, the harmonic healing aspect of sound as a backdrop to my voice and guiding people. And then years later, I end up, doing formal study, and then created the Lotus Heart Sound Journey, which is a guided meditation where I introduce people to the concept of the journey itself, because there's guided imagery, but then my voice falls away. So now you're being held by the sound and riding the sacred sound current itself in the core of the journey. And then I bring people out of the experience. And so it's been an organic, natural progression, and the teachers that presented along the way for me to do what I do today. And oftentimes I will get people interested in what I do and wanting to train with me, or asking me, where did you train in this? Like, who taught you this formula or this format? Well, I did. I mean, it really created through me, with me, this sort of collaborative session with Source, right?
That's beautiful, LeeAnn. And there were two things that came into my mind as you were talking to me. And one was when you spoke about being so young and having lost your mother. But I know from the last couple of months when we've been connected that I have sensed your immense love for your family, and you have this nurturing motherly quality that's above everything else, and that's just such a blessing. And I know you also spoke about the Divine Mother somewhere. I can't recall where I read about that. And in ancient Eastern wisdom, the Divine Mother is such a potent form of energy, and it's believed that we all as women have, or why just women, we all have the Divine Mother within us. And that's what you're speaking about being guided. So where did you learn? And I can truly say I totally connect to that many times you could have formal learning, but truly whatever you bring out into the space of the world is something that you birthed from all your experiences and your intuitive guidance and this divine flow that comes to you from wherever we don't quite know. That was so beautiful.
You are very intuitive and just so right on, because I refer to my work as acoustic feminine wisdom.
Yes.
And remember when I was talking about the day of the memorial, and I heard that
yes,
gentle, soft voice and impression. That was at the reception later in the day, but the day of that day, I actually had to walk out of the chapel where she was being laid to rest because I couldn't bear it. So I walked out, and I was in the cemetery by myself. And all of a sudden I heard an audible voice, and it was almost like the skies parted, and the eminence of the Divine Mother was coming through, because what I heard was, I am your mother now. And I perked up, I heard, I listened, I embodied that. I knew that wasn't my biological mother. I knew that was the Divine Mother. And, in all our spiritual traditions, she wears many faces and, has many names. Yes. But the umbrella is the Divine Mother. And my mom died, and the essence and presence of the Divine Mother is deeply rooted in this work, and everything, my writing, when I speak, we're all enmeshed and one with divine essence and presence. But I feel like, because of this life experience, it clearly put me on my path in a very,
there were no doubts. There were no doubts at all.
Completely.
No questioning. Just like you found your home.
Yes. Yes. Right. And so when you talk about me carrying this strong mother principle, it's true. I mean, and my clients, the participants, at the Sound Journeys They know that and recognize that. I think they come and participate because of that. I mean, I tuck everybody in, before they go into their journeys, because they have their pillows and the blankets, and I tuck their feet in and make sure everybody's
Oh,
comfortable. And yeah, I
I
mean, it's
I
just,
hope one day I will be there, LeeAnn, to be tucked into that chair by you.
I would love for you to be here, Deepa. So yes, it is the way of the mother. I know I am here to pave the way for her full emergence, to help dissolve and dissipate the cacophony in the world through the sound journey, the harmonic healing, through the expression and the vibration of the words that I share. Because when we guide people in a sound meditation or journey, it's not just about the sound. It's about the facilitator as well,
Yes,
right?
truly.
Very, very important. So we will have a little experience that you'll have connected to this podcast, and I think the work that you're doing is so profound because, and maybe I'm getting ahead of myself with our interview, but the mind is such a powerful tool,
It
and
is.
we can get caught up in just the rumination and the regurgitation, of our thoughts. And, our thoughts affect how we feel, and how we feel affects our physical reality. And that's all energy, that's all vibration. So if
Yeah.
we can go in and break the cycle, we can bring ourselves back into alignment and harmony, and that inner calm and peace. To be able to be calm in the midst of chaos, that's a spiritual art form in itself, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sound is so profound, LeeAnn, that I'd love to for you to actually voice to our listeners how it is connected to sleep, and also your specific format, because you have created something very unique using sound and visualization. So,
Mhm.
talk to us a little bit about what exactly is your framework or your unique signature sound healing.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to graduate an individual into the experience. And what I mean by that is, I wouldn't be playing a really loud gong to get somebody to deepen into relaxation.
Right.
It's and that's why I call my work acoustic feminine wisdom, because it is profound and powerful, but there's a gentleness to it. There's a softness to it.
Mm.
Yeah, I do have gongs, and I have bowls, and I have a Pythagorean monochord. I have lots of instruments, but it's the approach, and during the journey itself, how I play the instruments based on where we are in the journey. So if we just look at a bell curve, right? A bell curve really is a mountain.
Mm.
Looks like a mountain. And my mom actually came to me in a meditation 9 to 10 years after she had passed. And she came to me on top of a mountain.
Mm.
Now, my first guided meditation and audio cassette tape back then in 1992 was called View from a Mountaintop, A Journey to Self-Renewal, because I was working on myself to heal through the loss. And there was this, called it A Journey to Self-Renewal. And what happened and I know I'm diverging a little bit deeper, but this is important, because I want to show you the new book which, excuse me.
View from the mountain top, a journey into wholeness. Oh, absolutely.
Yes, and I will send you a copy.
And I think, LeeAnn, it also, the mountain is so representative of our lives, where there's always the up and the down, and right?
Right.
I mean, we all
Yes.
have.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And to be able to get to the mountaintop at some point, it's like we all do, but as we climb the mountain in learning our life's lessons, in other words, if we're steeped in fear and worry and anxiety, it's like, how do we help ourselves enter into fearlessness, to be more present and trusting in the self rather than giving our power away to externals, but to take our power back and say, no, I've got this. And so when we look at the bell curve, what I do in the journey is I gradually introduce people to the concept of relaxing. So we begin with the breath and we focus on the breath. And I use specific phraseology to gently take people in. And when we talk about the rhythms of the breath and the cycles of the breath, well, the in-breath and the out-breath, the sensations, they mean something different. Like the inhale takes us out of relaxation, but the exhale drops us into the experience. So that's what we do. In the beginning, we work with the breath, but we focus on the exhalation phase of the breathing rhythm. And I will do that in our guidance today. I use specific instruments, one of which my teacher, Wolfgang Dennert, he creates these tubular chimes that are extraordinary. And the way I play them is, I focus a lot on the perfect cycle of fifths, which aligns the chakras from, the base to the crown. And I know there are different systems in the world, but I actually work with the Taoist and the Pythagorean system. So in the Hindu tradition, it's a little bit different. But either way, it's the perfect cycle of fifths that brings us into harmony and alignment within the self. It's like the yin and the yang just beautifully weaving together.
How beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And so I graduate you into the experience, focusing on the tubular chimes. And then I integrate my singing bowls, and I have a handpan. My Pythagorean monochord is tuned to the notes of D and A. And that's a very healing combination. The resonant frequency of DNA is so beautiful. But think about it, DNA, right? And when I play the monochord, it's at the top of the mountain. Why? Because we've taken all this time to relax the physical body, calm the emotional body, and allow the mind to become more still and serene. So when we get to the top of the mountain, now I have everybody really sufficiently grounded in their bodies, but also connected to the heart of the earth, because I do an invocation in the beginning that creates a unified field for everyone in the group or the individual I'm working with, and connects us then to the heart of heaven, to the heart of earth. And it's a beautiful formula. I also have people integrating their radiant point of light from their heart center and reaching that line of light out right and left, because what we're doing with the vertical and the horizontal through the heart is creating an equal arm cross. And
Mm.
though it's in one plane, of course, it's multidimensional, energetically, vibrationally, but that equal arm cross, we want to live life from our heart center, and to drop the mind down into the heart, into the body. So we're just not ruminating up here, but we're dropping it into the body so we can adequately feel, really feel, and heal and resolve whatever issues are going on. This equal arm cross represents fairness and justice, balance, harmony, equality, and right relationship in all things.
And we
And
need this so
so
much in
we
today's world, LeeAnn. Whatever you're talking about, I think every one of us needs more of that.
We do, Deepa, we do. And I mean, here I am in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in my sound healing center, and I have a treatment center behind it, which is called Studio BE, Studio BE, teaching people how to be, to just be.
Mm.
And so this piece with the sound journeys is the experiential. And what happens, it elicits a great deal of emotional release for people to heal, to unearth whatever is sitting in the subconscious, to come to the conscious, and then to be released. And sometimes it's a quick release, and sometimes people will, because I'm not a licensed therapist, I refer them to those that are. And it's profound. So after we're at the top of the mountain, this is where people are most likely, what I've experienced with the participants is that their brainwave states now have really gone into a theta brainwave state, which is deep, deep. So, we go from beta, alpha, theta to delta, and the majority of people, and I'm looking around my space here, I can see and watch, just what's happening with their breath, how their physical body has settled into the supporting environment below them, and to see energetically they are in that higher realm, yet still maintaining a sense of groundedness within themselves. That is essential. It is so important, I believe, that people are grounded within themselves so that they can continue to elevate. And then this experience at the top of the mountain is where they have their most profound inner awakenings.
Transformation.
And then, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So then it's just a gradual, coming back down. But I use the imagery of nature, because nature, as Eckhart Tolle says, nature is the portal to presence. Yes, absolutely. Nature, God is nature, and we are one with nature, and we are one with God, source. And so when we realize oneself, capital O, capital S, all else is realized. And when we're in nature, and of course, everyone's using their imagination to visualize and feel and sense and know and embody where I'm placing them, which is very simply imagine that you're on your path of life and your wise inner teacher is sitting right next to you. Your wise inner teacher, Deepa, is your soul, your beautiful, radiant soul. And behind you is this beautiful mountain, and it's reflected in the lake of peace before you. And there's a flowing, very fast flowing river of truth that comes from around the base of the mountain in front of you and in front of the Lake of Peace. There's valley and meadow behind the Lake of Peace. There's this beautiful, lush green forest wrapped around some of the Lake of Peace. Canopy of light blue sky above, and then golden essence radiant sun. So you have all the elements represented, but you also have, the sense of grounding to the earth, connecting to the spiritual mountaintop, the fluidity and flexibility and power of the water, which represents the emotional body. Water represents the soul. Water represents the mother.
Flowing, fluid.
Yes, yes, yes. However, water is very powerful because it carves in solid rock. So do not ever underestimate the power of the mother. It is the divine mother that puts before us all our life's lessons to push us to the edge of self. So we transform, yes. And then the sky itself represents the higher mind, the canopy of sky. And then the fire of sun, it lights the way before us as it lovingly burns away the dross of old. So here what we're doing is we are understanding and embracing that contraction gives way to relaxation. Our emotional attachments begin to open up to trust. And all our rigid held beliefs, they begin to melt into a clarity of what is to be. If we just allow ourselves to be present and recognize, because it's through recognition, that's the soul's language, is sacred geometry, symbols, and and recognizing our higher self, recognizing our bigger self, recognizing the oneness and the truth that we are. Right?
Yes.
I have to ask you, is that a large window behind you with the stars in the night sky? Or is
It's actually not stars, it's glass bricks. And so it's reflecting the light of my table lamp, and it looks like the night sky with stars.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful, because here I am early morning and here you are in the night, right?
And LeeAnn, I was going to ask you about how does sound touch the heart, but I must tell you this little conversation that you took us through, where you spoke about it with such soul and such love, and your sound, your voice is so soothing that I felt as if my heart is soothed just listening to you. So I think even without us getting into how does sound actually help us to silence ourselves, I think we can only provide our listeners the best possible way to realize it for themselves with the guided session that you'll take us through. But I'm just wondering, before we actually get to this session, and you've so beautifully taken us through realizing our divine essence, and I think what I really took away from you is trusting that whatever comes in front of you is a way to, and you beautifully said it, she's pushing you forward to be your best version. And I mean, that changes everything for somebody who's going through challenging times, to be either looking at it as something which is deeply heavy and feels like a burden, to something that feels like I can trust that she believes that I have great potential, and therefore she's pushing me to be the better or the best version of myself. And I'm just wondering, before you actually take us through the session, and I'm going to promise you that one day I'm going to be there to experience that session in person. Could you just read us a little section from your book, a poem so that we actually feel that energy before we get into the session.
Yes, yes. And the poem I selected is for your audience, and it's titled "Suspend Yourself and Relax." And the book was first published back in 1995. So this recent second edition is the 25th anniversary. And when I wrote this poem, it was a request from my students at the university, because I was teaching at UWM in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in mind-body integration. And when I was telling them that I was doing recording and I was writing, and they're like, could you just like help us? Because as students, they had a hard time sleeping and they wanted something just for. And so I wrote this poem, and then I had put it to music. Back then, I wasn't doing my sound healing, my organized sound healing. I had a friend who had his, who's a recording artist, who played the not the bass, is it? What's the other one? Cello.
Cello.
And yes, the cello. And his music was extraordinary. And quite honestly, I can't remember the song, but with that in the background, it was extraordinary. But I will read to you, "Suspend yourself and relax." Suspend yourself in the buoyant blue waters, floating near the shore's edge with ease. Embrace upon your face the peaceful massage, the healing effect of the breeze. Give into gravity. Relax deep in as your mind and body lie adrift. Feel the release. Trust in the waters, the acceptance and support of this gift. It is the beauty of the waters absorbed through your loving and clear essence that creates a harmonic convergence, enlightening your true presence. As the melodious rhythm of nature's way lulls you far and beyond, a simultaneous flow in communion generates inner joy so fond. Embrace this place through unfoldment, suspended in you, so free, the awakening of your true self, honoring and accepting all of thee. Relax.
That's so beautiful, LeeAnn.
And in the book, I have created actually oracle cards that go with the book. So it's a daily declaration of empowerment. And I'm going to read the 2 sentences that concentrate and synthesize the words of the poem. So that you could take this oracle card with you in the day if you selected this poem from the book, because you actually can go into the book, hold the book, ask a question, and randomly turn to a page, because it was created in the form of bibliomancy, which is a divination tool. And it took me a while to figure that out after the first release, because of how it came to be. But in the second edition, I was able to write about that, how it actually came to be. But this is what the oracle card says, that you would repeat to yourself this declaration. In the light of my soul, I declare, I imagine I am one with the melodious rhythm of nature, lulling me far and beyond. I am grounded in the flow of communion, generating inner joy. Oh, so profound.
I wish I had that card here with me, LeeAnn. I would just stick it here on my table.
I am going to be sending you several books and decks of oracle cards, so you have them, so you can give them to your patients and use them.
Thank you, LeeAnn. And before we get to the session, I know I don't want us to speak after the session. So we like all our guests to conclude the Sleep Whisperer Show mantra, which is, if sleep is the new medicine, then. So could you just finish that for us?
Yes. Sleep is the new medicine. Did you say within?
If sleep is the new medicine, then.
Oh, if sleep is the new medicine, then you will remember and realize the truth of your being. Being one and whole with all that is, the essence of all that is.
Thank you, LeeAnn. So I think you can take us through the session, and thank you for being on the show, because I don't want us to come back from that experience and talk again. So thank you for your time. I'm deeply grateful to Divine Mother for guiding this connection, and for all the beautiful things that I actually felt, LeeAnn, as if I was enveloped by the most gentle, loving mother through this whole conversation.
Oh, I am so grateful. Thank you, Deepa. And thank you to all your listeners. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. Just a reminder that this podcast is for information purposes only. This is not a substitute for professional care by a doctor or otherwise qualified health professional. This information is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services. If you are looking for personal help on your health journey, do seek out a medical practitioner. Please do make your own healthcare decisions based upon your research and in partnership with your doctor or otherwise qualified healthcare professional. It is in no way intended as medical advice, as a substitute for medical counseling, or as treatment or cure for any particular health condition. Be sure to always work directly with a qualified health practitioner before making any changes to your diet or lifestyle that may feel out of your realm of comfort or understanding. If you are looking for an allied functional medicine practitioner, do seek out more information on www.phytothrive.com or www.sleepwhisperer.pro. It is important that you have someone who is qualified and understands your health personally in order to provide adequate care, especially when it comes to chronic health conditions.